They never complain, never ask for help, never show weakness, never admit they are struggling. Always the strong one, always the one others lean on. You call this resilience. It is performance that is slowly destroying them. You admire people who always act strong, who handle everything without breaking, who support others without needing support themselves, who never burden anyone with their problems, who seem to have infinite capacity to cope. You think they have something figured out that you have not, that their strength is enviable, that they are doing better than everyone else. But people who always act strong are not stronger than others. They are more defended than others. They are not handling everything well. They are hiding how badly they are handling it. They are not choosing to be independent. They learned that showing weakness leads to abandonment or punishment or being used, and they are protecting themselves the only way they know how. The constant performance of strength is not health or resilience or genuine capability. It is trauma response that prevents them from ever being vulnerable, from ever asking for what they need, from ever letting anyone see that they are human and struggling and need support. It is defense mechanism that keeps them safe from rejection, but also keeps them isolated in their pain, unsupported in their struggles, alone even when surrounded by people who would help if they knew help was needed. Understanding the hidden pain of people who always act strong requires examining not their strength, but what the strength is protecting them from, what it costs them to maintain it, why they cannot let it drop even when they are drowning, and what happened to teach them that vulnerability is more dangerous than suffering in silence. As a child, they cried, showed they were hurt, needed comfort. What they got was punishment, or abandonment, or nothing. You call this learning strength. It is learning that vulnerability is dangerous and must be hidden. Here is the first reason people always act strong. They learned early that showing weakness does not result in support. It results in rejection, punishment, or being exploited. They cried as child and parent became angry that they were not tougher. They showed they were hurt and parent dismissed it as overreaction. They asked for help and were told to figure it out themselves. They revealed vulnerability and it was used against them later or ignored completely. The message was clear: weakness is not acceptable. Needing things is burden on others. Showing you are struggling makes you problem rather than person worthy of care. The appropriate response to difficulty is to handle it alone, to not bother others, to be strong regardless of what you are dealing with. Showing you cannot handle something means you are failing at being the person you are supposed to be. So they learn to hide it, to cry only when alone, to never ask for help, to handle everything themselves regardless of how overwhelming it was, to present as capable and strong even when they were falling apart internally. They learned to perform strength, not because they felt strong, but because showing anything else led to outcomes worse than suffering alone. This becomes automatic. By adulthood, they are so skilled at the performance that they do it without conscious thought. They are hurting and they say they are fine. They are overwhelmed and they take on more. They need support and they offer support to others instead. The performance is so ingrained that they do not even recognize they are performing. It just feels like who they are. But underneath the performance is child who learned that showing weakness leads to abandonment or punishment. That vulnerability creates danger. That needing others makes you burden. That the only acceptable version of yourself is the strong version that does not need anything from anyone. They are not strong, they are terrified of what will happen if they are not strong. The strength is not choice. It is survival strategy they developed when they were too young to develop better strategies, and now it is prison they cannot escape because they do not know how to be anything other than strong even when the strength is killing them. They know if they show weakness, people will see them differently, lose respect, see them as less capable, start treating them as fragile. You call this pride. It is terror that vulnerability will destroy the only version of themselves that is acceptable. The second reason is that their entire identity is built on being the strong one, and showing weakness threatens to destroy the only self they have ever been allowed to be. They are the person others rely on, the person who has it together, the person who can handle anything, the person who does not need what others need. If they show weakness, if they reveal they are struggling, if they admit they need help, they lose the identity that has kept them safe and valued. They have organized their entire sense of worth around being strong. They believe they are valuable because they are capable, because they do not burden others, because they can be counted on to handle things. They believe that if they show they cannot handle something, if they reveal they need support, if they let people see they are struggling, they will no longer be valuable. They will become the burden they have spent their life avoiding being. This makes vulnerability existentially threatening. It is not just about showing weakness in moment, it is about destroying the foundation of their identity and worth. They have built themselves around being person who does not need, who does not struggle visibly, who is always okay. Taking off that armor means not knowing who they are underneath it, not knowing if anything remains when they are not being strong. They also fear that if they show weakness once, people will always see them as weak, that they will lose the respect they have earned through appearing capable, that they will be treated as fragile from that point forward, that people will stop trusting them with responsibilities or stop coming to them for support, that the entire social position they have built through being strong will collapse the moment they reveal they are not always strong. So they maintain the performance even when it is destroying them, even when they are drowning, even when they desperately need help, because showing they need help means destroying the only version of themselves that has been acceptable, the only identity that has kept them safe, the only self they know how to be. They are not strong by choice. They are trapped in strength by terror of what they will become if they are not strong. Everyone brings them their problems, leans on them, takes their support, assumes they have infinite capacity, never asks if they are okay. You call this being helpful. It is being used while being unable to ask for reciprocal support. The third reason is that they have become the person everyone leans on, which means they are constantly giving support while receiving none, constantly holding others' pain while having no one to hold theirs, constantly being strong for everyone else while drowning in their own struggles that no one knows about because they have trained everyone to believe they do not struggle. People come to them with every problem. They are the friend who always has time to listen, the family member who always has solution, the colleague who always helps without complaint, the partner who always provides emotional support. They have positioned themselves as endlessly available, infinitely capable, never needing anything in return, and people have learned to use them accordingly. But this is not reciprocal relationship. People take their support without offering support back because they have been trained to believe that strong person does not need support. They dump their problems and feel relieved and never ask how the strong person is doing because the strong person is always fine. They lean and lean and lean without ever providing something to lean on in return because the strong person has never indicated they need anyone to lean on. This creates devastating isolation. They are surrounded by people they support, but they have no one supporting them. They know everyone else's struggles, but no one knows theirs. They provide endless emotional labor but receive none. They are in constant one-sided relationships where they give and give and give while never receiving because they have made it impossible for others to know they need to receive. They also cannot suddenly start asking for support from people they have trained to only take from them. The relationship dynamics are established. People see them as the helper, not as person who needs help. Suddenly revealing that they are struggling, that they need support, that they have been hiding their pain, this would disrupt every relationship they have. People would be confused, uncomfortable, unsure how to respond to strong person suddenly being weak, so they remain trapped, giving endlessly while receiving nothing, supporting everyone while being supported by no one, holding everyone's pain while their own pain remains unwitnessed and unacknowledged. They are dying of thirst while everyone around them drinks from the well they provide, never knowing the well is running dry because the strong person never says it out loud. They are exhausted, burned out, barely holding it together. But they cannot stop performing, cannot let anyone see, cannot ask for break. You call this dedication. It is being unable to stop the performance even when it is destroying them. The fourth reason is that the performance of strength has become so automatic and so necessary that they cannot stop it even when they are completely depleted, even when continuing will destroy them, even when they desperately need to rest and be vulnerable and be supported. The performance is no longer choice, it is compulsion they cannot override even when they are drowning. They are exhausted in ways that go beyond physical tiredness. They are psychologically depleted from constantly managing everyone else's problems while suppressing their own. They are emotionally drained from performing stability while experiencing internal chaos. They are spiritually exhausted from never being able to be themselves, from always having to be the strong version, from never getting to rest in someone else's strength. But they cannot stop, cannot say they need break, cannot admit they are at capacity, cannot ask others to handle their own problems for a while so they can recover. Because stopping the performance means admitting they are not actually infinitely capable, means revealing they have limits, means showing weakness they have spent lifetime hiding. So they keep going, keep performing, keep being strong for everyone, even though they have nothing left. They push through the exhaustion, ignore their own needs, suppress their own struggles, maintain the facade of strength even as they are collapsing internally. They smile and say they are fine and take on more because the alternative, admitting they cannot handle it, is more terrifying than continuing to handle it while dying inside. They also cannot collapse because they fear that if they stop being strong for even a moment, they will not be able to start again. That if they let the armor down, they will fall apart completely and never be able to put themselves back together. That the pain they have been suppressing for years or decades will overwhelm them if they stop controlling it through constant strength. So they maintain the control, maintain the strength, maintain the performance because they are terrified of what will happen if they let it drop even briefly. The exhaustion is visible to no one because they have become expert at hiding it. They are dying and everyone thinks they are fine. They are drowning and everyone assumes they are swimming. They need help desperately and no one knows because asking for help would mean admitting they are not what they have claimed to be, unbreakably strong. They want to be vulnerable, want to share what they are carrying, want someone to see they are struggling, want to be held instead of always holding, but they cannot. You call this being self-sufficient. It is being trapped by fear that vulnerability will lead to abandonment or exploitation. The fifth reason is that they want to be vulnerable, want to ask for help, want someone to support them for once, but they are paralyzed by fear that vulnerability will result in the same outcomes it resulted in before: rejection, punishment, being used, or being abandoned. The fear is not irrational. It is based on repeated experience that showing weakness leads to being hurt. They have tried being vulnerable before. They showed they were struggling and people pulled away, uncomfortable with seeing the strong person be weak. They asked for help and people said no, or helped begrudgingly while making them feel like burden. They revealed their pain and people used that information against them later in argument. They showed they needed support, and the person they showed this to left because they wanted strong partner, not struggling one. Each experience reinforced the lesson: vulnerability is dangerous. It leads to rejection. It leads to being hurt more than you are already hurt. It leads to losing people who only want you when you are strong. It leads to being exploited by people who see your weakness as opportunity to manipulate you. The risk of vulnerability is too high because the cost when it goes wrong is devastating. So they remain defended. They want to share but they cannot risk it. They want to be seen but they are too afraid of what will happen when they are seen. They want to ask for help, but they cannot tolerate the possibility that help will be denied or given in ways that make them feel worse. They want someone to hold them, but they are terrified that showing they need holding will make the person leave. The longing for vulnerability is real. The need for support is real. But the fear is stronger than the need, and the fear keeps them locked in performance of strength even when the performance is killing them. They are trapped between desperate need for connection and support and terror that attempting to get that connection and support will result in more pain than they are already carrying. They are not choosing isolation. They are protecting themselves from repeated experience of vulnerability leading to harm. But the protection has become prison they cannot escape. They have been strong for so long, held so much, suppressed so much pain. They fear if they let it out, they will never stop crying, never recover. You call this control. It is being terrified that one moment of vulnerability will mean total collapse they cannot recover from. The sixth reason is that they have been suppressing their pain for so long, holding so much without releasing, maintaining strength through so much difficulty that they are terrified if they let the defenses down even briefly, they will fall apart completely and never be able to put themselves back together. The suppressed pain has accumulated to the point where acknowledging it feels like it will destroy them. They have cried alone in shower, they have broken down in car. They have experienced moments where the pain nearly overwhelmed them, but they have always pulled it back together, always reasserted control, always reconstructed the strength before anyone could see. They know how much pain they are holding. They know how close they are to total breakdown. And they know that if they let someone see it, if they start to release it, they may not be able to stop. They imagine breaking down in front of someone and sobbing uncontrollably, releasing years or decades of suppressed pain, falling apart so completely that they cannot function anymore. They imagine the humiliation, the vulnerability, the loss of control. They imagine not being able to stop once they start, not being able to pull themselves back together, becoming the fragile, broken person they have spent their life avoiding being. This fear keeps them locked in strength. Better to maintain control by suppressing everything than risk losing control by releasing anything. Better to slowly die from carrying the weight than risk catastrophic collapse from putting it down. better to remain strong and isolated than become vulnerable and destroyed. They also fear that if they fall apart, no one will be there to help them recover, that they will be alone in their breakdown just as they are alone in their strength, that showing they need support will not result in receiving support but will just result in being weak and alone instead of strong and alone. At least when they are strong and alone, they maintain dignity and respect. If they become weak and alone, they lose even that. So they maintain the strength, control the pain, suppress the struggle, keep performing even though they are one difficult moment away from complete collapse. Because acknowledging how close they are to collapse would mean admitting they need help, and they cannot do that. People assume they are fine, that they do not struggle, that they do not need checking on, that they are above the difficulties others face. You call this respect. It is being so good at appearing strong that no one sees when you are drowning. The seventh reason is that they have performed strength so convincingly for so long that people genuinely believe they are fine, that they do not struggle the way others struggle, that they are somehow immune to the difficulties that affect everyone else. And this belief means no one checks on them, no one offers support, no one sees when they are drowning because they have trained everyone to believe they never drown. People see them handling everything and assume they can handle everything. People see them never complaining and assume they have nothing to complain about. People see them always supporting others and assume they do not need support themselves. The performance is so successful that it has made their actual struggles invisible to everyone around them. When others struggle, people check on them, offer help, express concern. But no one checks on the strong person because the strong person is always fine. No one offers help because the strong person never needs help. No one expresses concern because there is never anything to be concerned about with someone who has everything under control. This creates a tragic situation where the person who is struggling most receives the least support because they are the best at hiding that they are struggling. They are drowning while everyone assumes they are swimming effortlessly. They are breaking while everyone believes they are unbreakable. They need help desperately while everyone thinks they are the one person who does not need help. They also cannot suddenly reveal they are struggling because it would shock everyone who believes they are always fine. People would not know how to respond. They would question why the strong person did not say something earlier. They would feel betrayed that the strong person was hiding their struggles while helping everyone else with theirs. The revelation would disrupt every relationship and every assumption people have made about who the strong person is. So they remain trapped in their own successful performance, too good at appearing strong for anyone to see when they are weak, too convincing in their capability for anyone to offer help, too skilled at hiding pain for anyone to know the pain exists. They are alone not because they want to be, but because they have made it impossible for anyone to know they do not want to be alone. People who always act strong are not stronger than others. They are more defended, more traumatized, more afraid of vulnerability, more isolated in their pain, more exhausted from performance they cannot stop. They always act strong because they learned as children that showing weakness leads to abandonment or punishment. Because their entire identity is built on being the strong one, and vulnerability threatens to destroy that identity. Because they give endless support while receiving none and have trained everyone to only take from them. Because the performance has become automatic and they cannot stop even when it is destroying them. Because they fear vulnerability will lead to the same harm it led to before. Because they are terrified one moment of weakness will mean total collapse they cannot recover from. Because they have performed so well that no one sees when they are drowning. The constant strength is not health. It is trauma response that prevents them from ever being human, ever being vulnerable, ever receiving the support and care and gentleness they desperately need. It is defense mechanism that keeps them safe from rejection while keeping them isolated in pain no one witnesses. They are not doing better than others. They are suffering more than others while hiding it more effectively. They are not handling everything well. They are barely holding it together while making it look effortless. They are not choosing independence. They are trapped in it by fear and conditioning and exhaustion and the successful performance that has made their struggles invisible. If you know someone who is always strong, understand that underneath the strength is a person who is struggling, who needs support, who wants to be vulnerable but cannot risk it. They will not ask for help. They will not tell you they are struggling. They will not drop the performance voluntarily because they cannot. What they need is someone who sees through the performance, who offers support without being asked, who stays when they finally crack, who proves that vulnerability will not lead to abandonment this time. They need someone who understands that the strength is armor, not truth, protection, not reality, performance, not authentic expression of who they are. They are not strong. They are terrified. and they need someone to see that.